Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me for Women of the Bible Wednesday. Last week we looked at the story of Naomi. Today we will look at her counterpart, Ruth, who, along with Esther and Judith in the Apocrypha, are the only women who have books named after them in the Bible. Anyway, her story is a favorite one for most folks. Maybe because it's only 4 chapters. And in it we see loyalty, risk, poverty, danger, hard work, sex, love, acceptance, and family. It's all in there. So, let's see. How would we describe Ruth? Well, for starters, tired feet, calloused hands, a huge heart, a flat stomach from hunger and lack of children. Oh, and so much more. So, let's delve into her story. If you remember, Naomi was a woman from Bethlehem who left there because of a famine and arrived with her husband and 2 sons in Moab. Eventually, they marry Moabite women named Orpah and Ruth. Sadly, Naomi's husband dies, and then shortly after that, her 2 sons die as well, leaving the 3 women childless widows. This was an awful situation to be in, but especially for Naomi, who was older, and she had no chance of remarrying and having more children to take care of her in her old age. So she decides to go back to Bethlehem now that the famine is over. And she tells Orpah and Ruth to remain in Moab and hopefully remarry. Well, Orpah reluctantly agrees, but Ruth adamantly refuses. And as I shared last week, utters one of the most beloved passages in all of Scripture. Don't force me to leave you. Don't make me go home. Where you go, I go. And where you live, I'll live. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. Where you die, I'll die, and that's where I'll be buried. So help me, God. Not even death itself is going to come between us. That's from the Message. See, once a woman married into a Jewish family, the custom was to join that family, leaving her original family behind. And even though it would have been acceptable to stay with her own people in Moab, Ruth refused to depart from Naomi. Some see it as strong-willed. However, within her was something more, something called hesed in Hebrew. It means kindness, but not just normal kindness. Sacred kindness, extraordinary, grace-filled, looking out for the other, God-filled kindness. And so after pledging her loyalty to Naomi, they set out on this long journey, arriving penniless and hungry, just in time for the barley harvest. Now, Ruth knows they need a plan to survive. And so she tells Naomi, what can we do? And Naomi says, okay, I want you to go to the fields and follow the harvesters and glean or gather what they have left behind. It's hard work, tiring work, back-breaking work. I want you to picture what it might look like. Think of migrant workers, migrant farmers toiling in the sun, the hot sun, bending down to pick the harvest. That's what gleaning is like. But Ruth says, okay, she'll do it. She obeys Naomi and starts doing it, and the women begin to slowly eke out an existence. And soon Naomi realizes that one of the barley fields just happens to be owned by a distant relative named Boaz. And on top of that, he's taken a liking to Ruth and allows her to not only glean, but tells the servants to leave extra grain for her and to make sure that no one bothers her, because women doing this kind of work always put themselves in danger. You know, I'm not sure Ruth thought of him as a potential husband. I mean, she was only one of many homeless, hungry women seeking work in the fields. But he was a potential kinsman redeemer for their family. And that just means someone who has the right to help and even marry a relative's widow and redeem them. And she was flattered by his kindness to her. Maybe because Boaz saw something in her. Maybe Boaz understood what it was like to be poor, an outsider, not knowing where your next meal might come from, hoping for someone to help you. See, he would have learned those things from his mom, Rahab, the prostitute, yep, and the hero of Jericho. And so, on Naomi's advice, and in need of a husband, Ruth goes to see Boaz one night after the harvest. Naomi tells her, wait until he's had a lot to eat and a lot to drink, and he's in a good mood. And when he falls asleep, undo the blanket from his feet and slip under the covers next to him. The thing is, doing this could have put Ruth in danger. I mean, the plan could have backfired. Ruth could have been raped on the threshing floor by one of the other workers. She could have been scorned and rejected by Boaz, and she could have developed a scandalous reputation if anyone else saw her or heard about her actions. But miraculously, Boaz doesn't reject her. He can't. He's already in love with her. And so by the end of the book, Ruth's hesed and willingness to follow Naomi's direction has given them a fresh start, a new beginning, and found redemption along the way. Well, a year later, Ruth gives birth to Obed, the grandfather of King David, and get this, is listed in the book of Matthew as an ancestor of Jesus Christ himself. What is significant about this is that women weren't ordinarily included in genealogies. But here we see Ruth becoming an essential character in the powerful story of salvation woven in the Bible. When I read Ruth's story, I find that it captivates and challenges me. See, she's a widow from an enemy nation with no prospect at all. She's not a Jew. She's new to the faith. And yet we see that God will move mightily in her story and use it to encourage millions. The thing is, Ruth showed remarkable faith for such a young believer. Faith that there was still a purpose for her ahead. Faith to believe that this God she had decided to believe in was who he said he was. And faith to believe that he would provide for her and Naomi. What's so fascinating about Ruth's story is the fact that she's just an ordinary woman, like you and me. Maybe this is why so many are drawn to her story. She didn't come from a famous family. She didn't have great wealth or position. She was a widow from an enemy nation, an immigrant at that. Yet she shows courage and determination and never gives up hope. A woman who has nothing has a story that becomes so important that not only is a book named after her, her name is recognized with only 4 other women in the lineage of Christ. Don't you just love it? I mean, how incredible is that? You go, Ruth. And now, my friends, please stay safe. Wear your masks when you're out in the crowd. We are spiking in cases here in New Jersey, and we have to be careful. And please, please, if you haven't done so, get vaccinated. It's safe, effective, and approved by the FDA. Do it for yourself and for everyone else that you care about. Know that I'm praying for all of you. Always, always look for the blessing and keep hope alive. We're going to be okay. Love you, and I'll see you next week. God bless you. Peace.